Alright. Awaken the Giant Within, Anthony Robbins. Chapter 2, Decision Pathway to Power. You remember Jimmy Carter was president of the United States, the Empire was striking back, Yoda, Pac-Man were the rage. Nothing came back between Brooke Shields and her Calvins. The ultimate Comey had come to power in Iran, held over fellow American hostages, Poland electricians. From Gunner Shipyard named Lech Walsey did unthinkable. He decided to stand against the communists and hold. He led his co-workers in a strike when they tried to lock him out of his place of work. He simply climbed over the wall, and lots of walls had come down since then, haven't they? You remember hearing the news that John Lennon was murdered? Do you remember with the Mount St. Helens erupted, leveling 150 square miles? Do you cheer for the underdog U.S. hockey team beat the Soviets, went into the Olympic gold medal in 1980, little more than 10 years ago? Think for a moment, where were you then? Where were you like? Where were your friends? What were your hopes and dreams? If someone asked you, where will you be in 10, 15 years, you wouldn't have told them. What would you have told them? Are you today where you wanted to be back then? A decade can pass quickly. Can it more important? We should be asking ourselves, how am I going to live the next 10 years of my life? How am I going to live the today, to create for the tomorrow I committed, when I'm going to stand for from now on? What's important to me right now? What is important to me in the long term? What actions do I take today that will shape my ultimate destiny? You see, in 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. The question is, where will you have become? Who will you have become? How will you live? What will you contribute? It's the time to design the next 10 years of your life. Not once they're over, we must seize the moment. You are already immersed in the early pan of the new decade, entering the final years of the 20th century. Shortly we'll be within the 21st century, a new millennium, a year 2000 will be here before you know it, and it merely in a mere 10 years you'll look back on this day remembering what it's like in 1980. Will you be pleased when you look back on the 90s perturbed, delighted, or disturbed? In the beginning of the 1980s, I was a 19-year-old kid. I felt alone and frustrated. I virtually had no financial reason for the no success coaches available to me, no successful friends or mentors, no clear-cut goals. I was a floundering fat. With a few short years, I discovered a power that transformed virtually every area of my life I once mastered. And once I mastered it, I used it to revolutionize my life in the less than a year. I was the tool to dramatically increase my level of confidence and therefore my ability to take action and produce measurable results. I used it to take back control of my physical well-being, permanently rid myself of 38 pounds of fat. Therefore, I attracted a woman of my dreams, married her, created the family I desired, to use this power to take my income to the substance level of over $1 million a year. I moved from my tiny apartment when I was washing dishes bathtub because there were no kitchen to find my family's current Delmar Castle. Only one distinction took me with a feeling completely alone, insignificant, feeling grateful with a new opportunity to contribute something in the millions of people around the world. And its power continued to use every single day of my life, shaping my power and destiny. In unlimited power, I made it abundantly clear the most powerful way to shape our lives is to get ourselves to take action. Different results that people produce come down to what they've done differently than from others in the same situation. Different actions produce different results. Why? Because any action causes a set in motion, affects the builds of the past, affects moves out of a definite direction. Every direction leads to an ultimate destination, or destiny. In essence, if you want to direct our lives, we must take control of the consistent actions, not what we do once a while to shape our lives, but we do it consistently. Key most important questions then is what produces all our actions, what determines what actions we take, therefore who will we become, what will the ultimate decision in life be with the father of the action. The answer comes is what I've been alluding to all along, the power of a decision. Everything happens in your life, both what you're thrilled with and what you're challenged by, begin with a decision. I believe that it's your moments of a decision that your destiny is shaped. Decisions that you make right now, every day, will shape how you feel today, as well as you're going back to the 90s and beyond. As you look back on over the last 10 years, were there times where the different decisions would have made it radically differently from the today, either better or worse? Maybe, for example, the make of the career decision changed your life, or maybe you failed to make one. Maybe you decided during the last 10 years you got to get married and divorced. You might have a purchase of a tape or a book of attending the seminar as a result. Change your belief of the actions. Maybe you decided to have children or put off the pursuit of the career. Perhaps you decided to invest in a home or a business. Maybe you decided to start exercising and give it up, or give it up. It could be they decided to stop smoking. Maybe they decided to move to another part of the country or take a trip around the world. How have these decisions brought you to this point in life? Did you experience emotion, tragedy, frustration, injustice, hopelessness during the last decade of life? I know I certainly did. If so, what should you decide to do about them? Do you push or beyond the limits, or do you just give up? Here are these decisions shaped by your current life path. Man is not the creature of circumstance. Circumstances are their creators. Man is not the creature of circumstance. Circumstances are the creatures of men. Benjamin Disraeli. More than anything else, I believe in our decision to have the conditions of our life that determine our destiny. You and I both know that people who are born with advantage, they have the genetic advantage, the environmental advantage, family advantage, relationship advantages. Yet I also know the constantly meet and read they hear about the people that against all of the odds exposed. Beyond the limitation of their conditions, making a new decision about what to do with their life, they become example of the unlimited power of human spirit. If you decided to you, and I can make your lives of these inspiring examples. How? Simply by making a decision today about how you're going to live with the lives in the 90s and beyond. If you don't make the decision about how you're going to live, then you've already made a decision, haven't you? You made the decision directly with the environment instead of shaping your own destiny. My whole life changed in just one day. Then the day I determined not just what I've had in my life and what I wanted to become, but I decided who and what I was committed to the having and being of my life with a simple distinction, but a critical one. Think for a moment the difference between interested in something and being committed to it, and yet you bet there is. Many times people say things like, gosh, I really would like to make more money, or I'd like to be closer to my kids. I'd really like to make a difference in the world, but the kind of statement's commitment at all is not a commitment at all. It's merely stating a preference, saying I'm interested in having it happen. If I don't have to do anything, that's not power. It's weak prayer made without even faith to launch it. Not only do you have to decide with the resolve committed, but also kind of person you're committed to being. As discussed in Chapter 1, you have the standards for what you consider with acceptable behavior yourself. Decide what you should expect for those you care about, and if you don't, you set a baseline standard for what you accept in your life, you'll find it easy to slip into behaviors, attitude, with the quality of life far below what you deserve. You set and live by these standards no matter what happens in your life, even if it goes all wrong, even if it rains on your parade, even if the stock market crashes, even if the lover leaves, even when no one gives you support that you need, you still may be committed to your decision that you will live your life at the highest level. Fortunately, most people never do this because they are too busy making excuses. The reason they haven't reached their goals are not living lives desired because of the way their parents treated them, because of the lack of opportunity they experienced in the youth, because of the education they missed, because they are too old, because they're too young. All of these excuses are nothing but belief systems. They are not only limiting, they are destructive. Using power decision give the capacity to get the past, excuse the change any of the ever pan of your life, and instead of the change of the relationship, working environment, your level of physical fitness, your income, your emotional states to determine whether you are happy or sad, with a frustrated, excited, enslaved circumstance, expressing your freedom and source of change with an individual, family, commitment, in society or world. What's changed everything in the Eastern Europe in the last few years? The people like you and me have made decisions about what they will stand for, acceptable, unacceptable to them, what they'll no longer tolerate. Certain Garbo Baccios decision helped pave the way, but the Lech Walsall's determination, commitment to the higher standard built the road to massive economic political change. I often ask people who complain about their jobs, why did you get to work today? Why did you go to work today? The answer usually is because I had to. You and I know need to remember one thing: virtually nothing that we have to do in this country. You certainly don't have to work. Not here. You certainly don't have to work a particular location, particular day. Not in America. You don't have to do what you've done. You don't have to do what you've done for the last 10 years. You can decide something else, something new today. Right now, make your decision. Go back to school, master dancing, singing, and take control of your finances. Learn to fly a helicopter, turn your body into inspiration. To begin meditation, to enroll in ballroom dancing, to attend NASA space camps, to learn space, speak French, to read more than your children, spend more time in the flower. Read more to your children, spend more time in the flower garden, even to fly in Fiji, live on an island. If you truly decide to you that you can do almost anything, you can do it. So you don't like the current relationship you're in, make a decision now to change it. If you don't like your current job, change it. If you don't like the way you feel about yourself, change it. If it's a higher level of physical vitality, health you want, you can change now. In a moment, you can see with the same power that shaped history. It is written in a book to challenge you to awaken the giant power of decision, claim of the birthright of the unlimited power of the radiant vitality, joyous passion that is yours. You must know that you can make a decision right now that immediately change your life. A decision about the habit you'll change, a skill that you'll master. How do you treat people? Call that you know, and call that you'll know now. Make someone you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe there's someone you should contact and take your career to the next level. Maybe you could make a decision right now to enjoy the cultivate the most positive emotion that deserve the experience daily. It's possible you might choose more joy, more fun, more confidence, and more peace of mind even before you turn the page. You can make use of power that already resides within you. Make the decision now that you can send new, positive, powerful direction, growth, and happiness. Nothing can resist the human that will stake even existence on a stated purpose. Your life changes in a moment. You make a new, congruent, committed decision. Who would have thought of the determination, conviction of quiet, unassuming man, a lawyer by trade, a pacifist by principle, would have the power to topple the vast empire of Mahatma Gandhi's indomitable decision to rid India of British rule was virtually a powder keg that set in motion of the chain of events that would forever change the balance of the world power. People didn't see how he could accomplish his aims, but he left himself with no other choice than acting according to his science. He simply wouldn't accept any other possibility. Decision was the source of John F. Kennedy's power with the faith of Nikita Khrushchev during the tense Cuban Missile Crisis of the averted World War III. The decision source of the Martin Luther King Jr. power as it gave some voice of equal, eloquently and in frustration, aspiration from people who had no longer been denied and forced the world to take notice. Decision was the source of Donald Trump's meteoric rise to the top of the financial world, also served with a devastating downfall. It is the power allowed by Pete Rose maximize the physical abilities of Hall of Fame potential and then ultimately destroy his life dream. Decisions act as a source of both problems, incredible joys, and opportunity with the power that speaks for the process of turning invisible into visible. Truly, decisions are catalysts for the turning our dreams into reality. The most exciting thing about the force and this power that is already that you already possess it. Explosive impetitive decisions are not something reserved to select a few with right credentials, money, and family background. It's available to the common laborer as well as the king. It's available to you now that it holds this book in your hand in the very next moment you can use the mighty force that lies waiting within you to merely muster the courage to claim it will today. To be today, you finally decide that what your person is much more than you've been. Who you are as a person is much more than you've been demonstrating. Will today be the day to decide once for all to make your life consistent with the quality of your spirit? Then start proclaiming, this is who I am, this is what my life is about, and this is what I'm going to do. Nothing will stop me from achieving my destiny. I will not be denied. A fierce, proud, individual woman named Rosa Parks one day with 1955 stepped off of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, refused to give up her seat with a white person. She was legally required to do so. Her one quiet act of civil disobedience sparked a firestorm of controversy over that became a symbol of the generation that followed. If at the beginning of civil rights movement, the conscious awakening groundswell with the grappling, even today with the redefining of the meaning of equality, opportunity, and justice for all Americans, regardless of race, creed, or sex, was Rosa Parks thinking of the future she refused to get out of her seat in the bus. Did she have a divine plan how she could change the structure of society? Perhaps it was more likely if the decision to hold herself to her standard compelled her to act. What far-reaching effect one woman's decision has had. If you're thinking, I'd love to make a decision like with but I've experienced real tragedies. Let me offer the example of the Ed Roberts, an ordinary man defined with a wheelchair who became extraordinary by his decision to act beyond apparent limitations. Ed had been paralyzed from the neck down since he was 14 years old. He uses a breathing device that he mastered against great odds to lead a normal life by day. He spends every night in an iron lung. Having found a battle against polio several times, almost losing his life, certainly would have decided to focus on his own pain, but instead show the difference to the others. Just what he has managed to do. For the last 15 years, his decision to fight against the world has often condescending. It resulted in enhancement of quality of life of the disabled, facing multitude myth of the capability physical challenge. He educated the public over the initiated everything in the wheelchair, access ramp, special parking place for the grab bars. He became the first quadriplegic to graduate Uniform California, Berkeley, and eventually held the position director for the California State Building Rehabilitation, again pioneering the position for the disabled. Ed Roberts' powerful evidence, though, that now where you start with your decision, you make it about the determined end of the matter. All this action were found in a single powerful committed moment of the decision. What could you do with your life if you really decided to? Many people say, well, I'd love to make a decision like that. I'm not sure I had changed my life. They're paralyzed by the fear that they don't exactly know how to turn their dreams into reality. As a result, it never became a decision they could make their lives into the masterpieces they deserve to be. I'm here to tell you that it's important to initially know how they're going to create a result, and it's important to decide you'll find a way no matter what. And unlimited power outline of what I call ultimate success formula, which is an elementary process of getting where you want to go, and 1, deciding what you want, 2, to take action, 3, to notice what was working or not, 4, to change the approach until you achieve what you want, deciding to produce the results, causes, events to set in motion, and simply decide what it is what you want, get it yourself, to take action, learn it from it, change your approach, then you will create a momentum, achieve the results, assume the truly commitment, thinking something happened, then how will reveal itself. Alright, concern all acts in initiative and creation, there's only one elementary truth. The moment one definitely commits oneself, the providence moves too. John Wolfgang von Goethe. If making decisions so simple and powerful, why don't more people with Nike's advice just do it? And if thinking was simple, the reason most of you even do not recognize what even makes them the real decision, you don't realize that the force of change that the congruent committed with the decision creates. Part of the problem is that so long most of you determine the decision so loosely that it comes to describe something like a wish list. Instead of making the decision, we keep the stating preferences, making the true decision, like saying, I'd like to quit smoking, is cutting off any of the other possibilities. In fact, if the decision comes from the Latin roots D, which means from, and candor, which means to cut. Making a true decision means committing and achieving the result, but then cutting yourself off from any other possibility. When you truly decide to never smoke cigarettes again, that is over and no longer even consider possibility smoking. If you're one of those people that exercise the power of the decision, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Alcohol knows that even after you've absorbed absolute sobriety, if he fools himself into thinking he can take even one drink, he have to begin all over again. After making a true decision, even the tough one, most of it with a tremendous amount of relief, finally have gotten off the fence, and you know how great it feels to have a clear, unquestioned objective. The kind of clarity gives you power. With the clarity you can produce the results you really want in your life. The challenge most of us you won't have made a decision so long as we've forgotten what it feels like. Go flabby decision making muscle, so people even with a hard time deciding what they're going to have for dinner. So, how do we strengthen these muscles? Give them a workout. The way to make them better decisions, more than to make more of them. Make sure that they're learning for each one of them, including that they don't seem to work in the short term, and provide valuable distinction to make better evaluation, thereby decision of the future. Realize that decision making, like any skill, focus on improving and getting gets better. But the more often you do it, the more often you make decisions, the more you realize that you're truly controlling your life. You look forward to the future challenges, and you'll see them in an opportunity to make the new distinctions move your life to the next level. I can't emphasize the power and the value of getting every one of the single distinctions. The sole piece of the information that can be changed for the course of your life. The information is power when it is acted upon. One of my criteria of the true decision is that action flows from it. The exciting thing, you never know what's going to get. And the reason I read over 700 books, listened to tapes, and went to many seminars, I understood the power of the single distinction. I might be on the next page of the next chapter of the book. I might be in something you already know. It might even be something you already know, but for some reason, time finally sinks in and begins to use it. Remember the repetition of the mother's skill. Distinction and power of the better decision, therefore creating the result of the desire over ourselves. Nothing as certain distinctions can cause the major pain. For example, the most famous people of the culture have achieved the dreams, but still will not find a way to enjoy them. They often turn to drugs because they feel unfulfilled, because they are missing the distinction between achieving the one goal, living the one value, something you will learn to master in page of files. Another distinction that many people have is the cause of pain in relation with the regular base of the rules distinction. Another key element, examining journey and self-discovery. Sometimes not having a certain distinction costs you everything. People who are strenuous yet continue to ever eat fatty foods, clogging their arteries, could court heart attacks. For most of my life, I pursued what famed business experts Dr. W. Edwards Dam's calling profound knowledge. To me, profound knowledge is a simple distinction, strategy, belief, skill, or tool that when a minute we understand it, we can apply it to make an immediate increase in the quality of our lives. This book of my life is committed to pursuing profound knowledge that has a universal application, improving personal and professional life, with constantly figuring out how to communicate knowledge with people in a way that truly empowered to improve their mentally, emotional, physical, and financial destiny.
I need you to try this one.
Alright. Alright. It's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Anthony Robbins. It is in your moments of the decision that your destiny is shaped. 3 decisions you make at every moment of your life, and they make every moment of your life life control your destiny. 3 decisions determine you to notice how you feel and what you'll do ultimately will contribute to what you become. If you don't control these 3 decisions, simply under the controlling of the life. When you control them, you begin to sculpt your experience. 3 decisions control your destiny. Your decision is about what you focus on. It's your decision what things meaning to you, what to do to create a result of your desire. Alright, you'll see it's not happening now, and it's not what's happening to you now, it's what happened to you in the past that determines what you become. Rather, it's your decision about what you focus on, what things you mean to, and what you're going to do about them will determine the ultimate destiny. Know that anyone enjoying greater success than you in an area that making these 3 decisions differently from the context situation. Clearly, Ed Roberts chose a focus on something different than most of the people in his position would. He focused that he would come and make a difference, and physical difficulties meant challenge to him. When he decided to do clearly with anything that he could make the quality of life of the position more comfortable, he absolutely committed himself to shaping the environment in a way that would improve the quality of all physically challenged people. I no more encourage the fact of the unquestionability of a man to alleviate his life by a continuous endeavor. Henry David Thoreau. Many of us don't make the majority of the decision, consequently, especially for the 3 absolutely crucial ones. In doing so, a major price. We paid a major price. In fact, most people live with a call of the Niagara syndrome. I believe that life is like a river. That most people jump off of the river of life without ever deciding what they wanted to end up. Where they wanted to end up. So in a short period of time, they caught up with the current events, current fears, current challenges. When it came to forks in the river, they don't consciously decide what they want to go, where the rights of the directions, what is the right direction of or them. They merely go with the flow to become the part of the mass of people directed by environmental instead of by their own values. As a result, they feel out of control, remain unconscious state until one day with sounding and raging water wakes them and they discover that they have 5 feet within Niagara Falls boat. They are 5 feet from Niagara's Falls in a boat with no oars. At this point, they say, "Oh shoot!" But then it's too late, and they going to take a fall. Sometimes emotional fall, sometimes physical fall, sometimes it's a financial fall. It's likely whatever the challenge that you have in your life currently could have been avoided. The better decision upstream. How do we turn things around if we caught up with the momentum of the raging river, either to make the decision with to put both oars into the water and start paddling like crazy in a new direction, decide to plan ahead, set a course of where you really want to go, so you have the plan maps so that you can quality decisions along the way. Although you may never you may not never have thought about it, your brain's already constructed an internal system to make a decision system acts as an invisible force directly. All your thoughts and action, feelings, both good and bad, every moment of your life, the controls you have evaluating everything in your life. It's largely driven by the subconscious mind. Scary thing is that most people that never consciously set this system up. Instead, they install fears by source of diverse parents, peers, teachers, television, advertisers, cultures. Our large system is compromised in 5 components: your core belief, your core belief, the unconscious rules; 2, your life values; 3, your references; 4, your habitual questions that you ask yourself; and then 5, the emotional states you experience in each moment. The synergetic relationship with the 5 elements exerts force of responsible, prompting you to stop from taking action, cause you to anticipate worry about the future, make you feel with the love or rejected, dictating a level of success or happiness. Determines what you do, what you don't, why you don't do some things that you know you need to do. By changing one of these 5 elements, whatever the core belief, or the rule, value, the reference, question, and emotional state, would immediately produce a powerful, measurable change in your life. Importantly, fighting the cause instead of the ethics. Remember that overeating on a regular basis, the real cause, even the value, problem, relief problems rather than problem food itself. Throughout this book, by step to step, I'll guide you for discovering how you the master system of decisions making set up to make it simple to change with the making and consistent with your desires rather than continue with control by your past conditioning. You're about to embark on a fascinating journey with discovering who you are and what it truly makes you want to do what you do. With these distinctions and power, you'll be able to understand system decision making of the business, associate, spouse, or other loved ones by using it. Ones are using. We finally be understanding the fascinating behaviors too. You're fascinating to understand their fascinating behaviors too. The good news is that we can override the system by conscious decisions at any of the point of our life. We don't have to allow the programming of our past to control our present and future. With this book, you can reinvent yourself with a systematic, organize your belief, the value, the way it pulls you in the direction your life designs. I'm not discouraged because there's wrongful attempt discarded. Another step forward, Thomas Edison. It's only one final impotent with the really utilizing the power of decision. This is more overcome our fear of the making the wrong decision. Without a doubt, you will make wrong decisions in your life. You're going to screw up. I know certainly you haven't made all the right decisions along the way. Far from it. But I didn't expect it to. Nor will I make the right decision in the future. I have determined that no matter what the decision I make, I'll be flexible, look at the consequences, learn from them, use those lessons to make better decisions in the future. Remember that success truly is the result of a good judgment is the result of experience. Experience is often the result of bad judgment. Seemingly bad and painful experience sometimes most important people conceive as a tend to party, they fail, but when they tend to ponder, they begin to make new distinction, enhance the quality of lives, commit to learning from their mistakes rather than being ourselves up and destined to make same mistakes again in the future. It's important personal experience is how invaluable it is to the role model as well. Something to navigate with the rapids before you, with the head of a good map for you to follow, but then you can have the role model of the for your finances, model of the relationship, the model for your health, model for your profession, model of any aspect of your life, of the learning, the master, that they can save with the years of the pain, of the keeping you going out of over the falls. There will be time for the river swallow will have to make important decisions of your own good news, the willing to learn your experience. Then even the times you might think the difficulty becomes greater because providing valuable information, key distinctions that you will use better decision in the future. In fact, extremely successful person you meet will tell you, if they're honest with you, that the reason they are more successful than they've made more poor decisions than you have. People in seminars often ask me, how long do you think that it will take to really master the particular skill? And immediately response, how long do you want it to take? If you take action 10 times a day and have the proportional learning experience, while other people act on a new skill once a month, you'll have 10 months with experience in a day. You'll soon master a skill will ironically probably be considered talented and lucky. I became an excellent public speaker because rather than once a week, I looked at myself to speak 3 times a day to anyone who would listen, and while others in the organization 48 speaking engagements a year, I would have a similar number within 2 weeks, with a month, and I had 2 years of experience. Within a year, I have the dedicated decades worth of growth. My associates talked about how lucky I was been born with such innate talent. I tried to tell them what I'm telling you now. Mastery takes as long as you want it to take. By the way, my speech is great, far from it, but I did make sure that I learned from every experience and that somehow I improved us until very soon I could enter a room any size and be able to reach people from the virtually all walks of life. No matter how prepared you are, there's one thing that can absolutely guarantee: if you're on the river of life, then you're going to hit a few rocks. There's not being negative, but there's being accurate. The key is that when you go run around, instead of beating up yourself with such of the failure, remember that there's no failure in life, only results. If you didn't get the results you wanted, learn from the experience of it, the references and how to make the better decision in the future. Will either find a way or make one. Hannibal. One of the most important decisions you can make in ensure for the long-term happiness, decide whether the life gives them in a moment. The truth of the matter is there's nothing you can accomplish it. If one, you clearly decide that what you are absolutely committed to achieving. 2, you are willing to take massive action. 3, you notice whether what's working or not. 4, continue changing the approach until you achieve what you want. Whatever gives you along the way. Aiming to succeed on a large scale has taken the 4 steps with the ultimate success formula. One of my favorite ultimate success stories, Mr. Sakura Honda, founder of the Corporation of the Bears, is named. Like all companies, no matter how large, Honda Corporation began with decision, passion, and desire to produce a result. In 1938, he was still in school. Mr. Honda had everything he owned invested in a little workshop, began to develop a concept of a piston ring. He wanted to sell the work to Toyota Corporation. He labored day and night, his elbows in grease, sleeping in a machine shop that he always believed that he could result. He even pawned his wife's jewelry to stay in the business, but he finally completed with a piston ring, presented them to Toyota. They told him that it didn't meet Toyota standards. He went back to school. He was sent back to school for 2 years while he heard the desired laughter of the instructor fellow students as they talked about how absurd his designs were. Rather than by focusing on the pain of the experience, he decided to continue the focusing on the goal. Finally, after 2 years, Toyota gave Mr. Honda the contract he dreamed of. His passion and belief and paid off because he had known what he wanted to take action on, where he was working, kept changing approach until he got what was needed. The new problem arose. Japanese government gearing up for war. They refused to give him the concrete that was necessary to build his factory. Did he quit there? Did he focus on how unfamiliar this was? Did it mean that to him the dream had died? Absolutely not. Again, he decided to utilize the experience to develop another strategy. He and his team invented a process of creating his own concrete and then built their factory. During the war, it was bombed twice, destroying major portion of the manufacturing facility. Honda's response: he immediately rallied his team and then picked up the extra gasoline cans U.S. fighter had discarded, and he called them the gifts from President Truman, because they provided him with the raw materials that he needed from his manufacturing process materials that were unavailable at the time in Japan. Finally, after surviving all this, the earthquake leveled his factory, and Honda decided to sell his piston operation to Toyota. Here's a man who clearly made a strong decision to heave the passion to believe in what was doing wrong, the greater strategy, the tool making action. He changing his approach and still he did not produce the results he was committed to. He decided to yet he decided to persevere. After the war, tremendous gasoline shortage hit Japan, and Mr. Hannon couldn't even drive his car to get food for his family. Finally, in desperation, he attached a small motor to a bicycle. The next thing he knew, the neighbors were asking if he could make one of those motorized bikes for them. One after another jumped on the back until he ran out of motors. He decided to build a plant where they'd manufacture motors for his new invention. Unfortunately, he didn't have any capital as before. Made a decision to find no matter what his solution appealed with 18,000 bicycle shop owners in Japan, writing each of them a personal letter. He told them they could play a role in revitalizing Japan with the mobility the invention could provide, but convinced 5,000 of them in advance of the capital he needed. Still, the motorbike sold only for the most hardcore bicycle fans because it was too big and bulky. So he made one final adjustment. He created a much lighter, scaled-down version of the motorbike, christened it the Super Cub, and became the overnight success engineer of the Emperor's Award. Later, he began to export motorbikes to baby boomers of Europe and the United States following the 70s with the cars that had become so popular. Toyota and Hana Corporation employs over 100,000 people, both in the United States and Japan, considered the biggest car-making empires in Japan, outselling all but Toyota in the United States, succeeding because of the many man understood powerfully with a truly committed decision acted upon no matter what the condition with a continuous basis. Alright, crystal ball crack. The following actual rejections notice that received from the famous and incredible successful books Animal Farm George Orwell. It's impossible to sell animal stories in the United States. Diary Anne Frank, the girl that doesn't seem to have special perception feeling, which would lift the book above curiosity. The Lord of Flies, William Golden. It doesn't seem they used to us that we have been whole successful with a working out, admittedly promising idea. Lady Charter's Lover, D.H.L. Lawrence. For your own good, do not publish this book. Less Than Life of Livingstone, a long, dull novel about an artist. Alright, Hana certainly knew that sometimes you make a decision, take an action, short-term may look like it's not working. In order to succeed, you must have a long-term focus, smoke with the challenge of having their own personal life, indulging, constantly overeating, drinking, smoking, feeling overwhelmed, giving up our dreams, coming short of focus, success, failure with an overnight experience. It's all a small decision along with the call of the people to fail, the failure to follow up, the failure to take action, failure to persist. Failure to manage our mental and emotional state, the failure to control what we focus. Conversely, success the result of making small decisions, deciding to hold yourself higher standards, deciding to contribute, deciding to feel your mind rather than allowing environmental to control you. These small decisions create life experience books we call success. No individual has become successful has done with a short-term focus. On a national scale, most of the towns currently experience with the result of not thinking of the potential consequence of the decision we made. For the crisis of the SNL scandal, channels balanced trade, and with a budget deficient for the educational Middle East, for the drug and alcohol, for the problems are all results of short-term thinking. Niagara syndrome is most potent. When you're raging along the river, keep the next rock you might hit, you don't and can't see far enough to avoid the falls. As society focuses for the instantaneous gratification that your short-term solutions often become long-term problems. Our kids have trouble paying attention short and long enough to think and memorize, learn partially because they have become addicted to the instantaneous gratification, constant exposure. Things like video games, TV commercial, MTV The Nation will have the highest number outweigh children in history because of our unrelenting pursuit of the quick fix of the fast food, the instant pudding, the microwave brownies. In business, the kind of short-term can be deadly with the whole controversy surrounding the Exxon Valdez disaster. Given inverted banking, one small decision, Exxon could have the outfit with the tank of the W. Even the proactive decision would have prevented an oil spill. In the event of the collision, the oil company chose not to, looking at immediate rather than long-term range of the impact of the bottom line following the crash result in the spill. Exxon was responsible for paying a whopping $1.1 billion from compensation. devastation and economic damage has caused, not to mention the immeasurable ecological destruction to Alaska and surrounding areas. Deciding to commit yourself with long-term resolves rather than short-term fixes is important in any decision you make in your life. Failing to do this can cause only massive financial and societal pain, by sometimes even the ultimate personal pain. One young man you may have heard of dropped out of the high school because he decided it wasn't going to be a way to longer to follow his dream of becoming a famous musician. But his dream didn't become a reality quick enough. In fact, by the time he was 22, he feared that he had made the wrong decision. No one would ever love his music. He'd been playing in piano bars and was flat broke, sleeping in laundromats because he had no longer had a home. The only thing he had been holding him together, the romantic relationship with his girlfriend, decided to leave him. When she did, it pushed him over the edge, and he immediately focused on how he could never again find another woman as beautiful as she. What this meant to him was that the life was over, and he decided to commit suicide. Fortunately, before doing so, he reconsidered his options, decided instead to check in a mental institution. Spending time there gave him the new reference about the real problems, where he later recalling saying, "Oh, I'll never get that low again." Now he declares, "It's one of the best things that ever did, because I've never gotten to feel sorry for myself more than no matter what's happened. Any problems is nothing compared to what I've seen other people going through. Renewing commitment, following with a dream in the long term, eventually with a head all white, wanted his name, Billy Joel." Can you imagine this man who millions of fans love, with the supermodel Christina Brinkley, married? Whoever worried about the quality of the music, finding a woman as beautiful as his ex girlfriend, the key to remember to what appeared impossible in short term turned into a phenomenal experience of success happened in the long term. Billy Joel was able to pull himself out of his depression, directing the three decisions to control each of the moment of his life, what to focus on with things, what to do in spite of challenges that may appear, the limitless raise of the hand backward to back them up with a new belief, and limited strategies he knew that he must. One belief that I developed and carried with me through the extremely tough times is simply God's delays, not God's denials. Often seems impossible. The short term becomes very possible in long term pursuit. In order to succeed, you need to discipline over self consistently and thinking long term. A metaphor may use to remind myself of the comparing life's up and downs to the changing of the seasons. No season lasts forever because of all the life cycles: planning, reaping, resting, and renewal. Winter is not infinite, even though you have the challenge today. You can never give up on the coming of the springs. For some people, the winter means hibernation. For others, it means bobsledding and downhill skiing. You can also always just wait out the season, but why not make it into a time to remember? Harness the power of decision. In the review, let's go over the six quick keys to help you harness the power of decision, the power that shapes your experience in life every moment that you live. Remember the true power to making a decision tool that you can use the moment to change your life with a minute. With a new decision you set with a minute and new cause effect with every direction and destination of your life. You're literally beginning to change your life. In the moment you make a new decision, remember that when you're starting to feeling overwhelmed, you feel like that you don't have a choice when things are happening to you. You change it all, but you stop and decide to do so. Remember, a real decision measured in the fact that you take a new action. If there's no action, you've truly decided. To realize the hardship of achieving anything is making true commitment, the truth of the decision. Carrying out with the commitment is often much easier than the decision itself, so make your decision intelligently, but make them quickly. Don't labor forever on the question of how, if you can do it. Studies that have shown with the most successful people to make decisions rapidly because they clear on the value of what they really want in their life at the same time with a slow change of their decision, if at all. On the other hand, who fails usually to make decisions slowly change their minds quickly, allows bouncing back and forth, just decide. Realize that decision making is kind of an act itself. With a good definition, decision might be information acted upon. You know, you've truly made a decision. When action flows from it, it becomes a cause of set of the emotion will only affect. Often the effect of making the decision helps create attainment of a larger goal. Critical rule toward I've made myself never to leave a sense of a decision without first taking a specific action toward realization. 3. Make decisions off of them. The more decisions you make, the better off you're going to be at making them. The muscles grow stronger, so when decision-making muscle, to unleash your power right now to make some of the decisions you've been putting off. You won't believe in the energy and excitement you will create in your life. 4. Learn from your decisions. There's no way around it. At times, you're going to screw up, no matter what you do, the inevitable happens. Instead of beating yourself on the ground, learning something, ask yourself, what is good, this? What can I learn from this failure that may be the unbelievable gift of the sky with the issue to make a better decision in the future rather than focus short-term setbacks. Instead of learning lessons, you can save the time, money, and the pain that will give you the ability to succeed in the future. 5. Stay committed to your decisions. 2. Stay flexible in your approach. 1. You've decided you want to be as a person. For example, don't get stuck with the means of achieving it. It's the end you are after. And often deciding what they want to their life, to pick up the people in the best way. Know at the time to make a map, but they don't stay open and alternate routes. Don't become rigid in your approach. Cultivate the art of flexibility. 6. Enjoy making decisions. You must know at the moment of the decision you make the change of the course of your life, or of the next person you stand behind the line, that sit next to them, the airplane, very next phone call you make, it or perceive, the very next movie you see, the book you read, or page you turn, could be the one single thing that causes the floodgates to open and all things you've been waiting for and fall in place. I really want your life to be passionate. You need to live in the attitude that experiences years ago when I made what it seemed a small decision powerfully shaped in my life. I decided to do a seminar in Denver, Colorado. The decision caused me to meet a lady named Becky. Her last name now is Robbins. She definitely is one of the greatest gifts of my life. And on the same trip, I decided to write it in for my first book, but now published even 11 languages around the world. A few days later, I decided to conduct a seminar in Texas after working with a week to fill my own program. Promoter did not pay me for the event. He skipped town. He obviously person to talk to was a public relations agent. He hired a woman who had similar woes. The woman became my literally agent and helped me get my first book published. As a result, I have the privilege of sharing the story with you today. One time I decided to take on a business partnership to investigate with the character of Vance. A poor decision on my part. Within a year, I misappropriated $250,000 and had run a corporation $758,000 in debt, while I spent in my life on the road doing more than 200 seminars. Fortunately, though, I learned my poor decision made a better one. In spite of advance of the experts around me, the only way I could survive would be to declare bankruptcy. I decided to find a way to turn things around and created one of the greater success of my life. I took my company to a whole new level where I learned experience not only created my long-term business success, but also provided many of the distinction of the neuro-associated condition, destiny, technologies that you'll be learning in this book. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. Helen Keller. So what is single most important distinction? Take of this chapter. Know that the decision and not your condition to determine your destiny. Know that it's your decision and not your condition to determine your destiny. Before you learn the technology changing how you think and how you feel every day of your life, I want you to remember the final analysis. Everything you read in this book is worthless. Every other book you read and tape you've heard and seminar you attend is worthless unless you decide to use it. Remember, the truly committed decision forces changes your life. Power available at any moment that you decide to either prove yourself, or you decide now to make one or two decisions. You have them putting off the one easy, but they want to make a bit more difficult. Show yourself what you can do right now. Stop, make at least one clear-cut decision by putting off, to take the first action toward fulfilling it, and needs to take it out. By doing this, building the muscle will give you the will change the entire life. You and I both know that you're going to challenge the future, but lack well so. And the people of Eastern Europe have learned I decided to pass the wall, to climb over them, break through them, get a tunnel under them, confine a door. You can find a door, no matter how long into the wall. Stood none over the power with shame of the continued force of human beginnings that would decide to persist until it is fallen. Human spirit truly is unconquerable, but the will to win will succeed. The shape of one's life to take control can only be harnessed when decided when you want to believe that no challenge, no problem, no obstacle can keep you from it. When you decide that your life is ultimately shaped not by conditions but by your decisions, then in that moment you will change forever. That you will be empowered to take control of. Chapter 3, Force of the Shapes of Your Life. The force that shapes your life.